It's Bookmas Day 11, and I have actually been preparing for this video all year long. I've been so excited for it. Hey everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today I'm going to bring you one of the videos that I was literally the most excited to figure out and record and talk to you guys about. Today I'm going to be talking about which tropes I read throughout the entire year the most of. First off, I wanted to apologize. I am so sorry that day 11's video was late. I am not kidding when I say I have spent all day making raviolis. That is one of my family's Christmas traditions. We do it every year. And I didn't have my video pre-recorded before I went to my parents' house to start making the raviolis. It's an all-day thing. And so by the time we finished and cleaned up and ate dinner and got home and we did bedtime and story time and all of that stuff, it's late. And this video might not actually be out on the 11th, but I'm sorry about that. So anyways, back to tropes. I used to not like when people talked about what tropes were in a book. It's weird to actually think about how my view on this has changed. When I first started my Bookstagram, I used to think that like it was spoilers to talk about the tropes that were in a book. I was like, no, you can't do trigger warnings. You can't do tropes. You can't do these things. Like, it's a spoiler. I don't want to know what happens. My thoughts have changed. I actually honestly really love knowing what trope is in a book because it makes me know as a more seasoned reader if I will like the book. I have specific things that I know I love reading in books. I look for those tropes in books because I know I'll probably like it. So sometimes I feel like I stuck my foot in my mouth, like all of the times that I used to tell people, no, don't do that, don't do that. And here I am doing that and giving you guys a Bookmas video on the tropes that I read this year. At the beginning of this year, I really wanted to know what tropes I was reading, how many of the books that I was reading in specific tropes. And so kind of throughout the year, I have been collecting tropes and I have this spreadsheet and I've been literally tracking every book. When I finish it, I mark what tropes that I found were in it. Now, I'm not tracking every trope under the sun. There are so many, but I've tracked 35. Most of the tropes that I have read, because I read so much fantasy romance and regular romance and rom-coms, kind of generally are found within those books. You're not going to find horror tropes. You're not going to find thriller tropes. You're not going to find that kind of stuff. Like, there are so many tropes. Typically, I'm talking about the romance ones. I'm going to go through my top 5 tropes of the year. And then I'm going to give you guys suggestions for books that I read that fell within these tropes. I'm really trying hard not to duplicate so you get like a wide breadth of suggestions, but it's hard to do that sometimes. Like, there are some that I'm like, this is that trope, and I don't care if I said it in another one. Like, I have to tell you that this is also that trope. Based on my top 5, pretty much my ideal book is an enemies to lovers romance that's fated mates with forced proximity. That's a slow burn with a little sprinkle of your mine. That's Amanda's top 5. Apparently, I read so much of all 5 of those. If I could get all of them in one book, that's my jam. That is my jam right there. Did I get all 5 in one book? Stay tuned and we'll see. Okay, no, seriously though. I read 27 enemies to lovers books. And I count enemies to lovers as they don't like each other. Even if we know that one of them secretly does, usually it's not the one in the perspective that you're in, I still count it as an enemies to lovers. If there is animosity between the two, if there is dislike, if there is hatred, it's an enemies to lovers. I read 27 of them. If you tell me it's enemies to lovers, I will pick it up. Like, that is just my jam. I love it so much. Clearly way more than friends to lovers or strangers to lovers or any other blank to lovers type situation. Give me an enemy. So here are some examples of some enemies to lovers. Throttled by Lauren Asher is we hate him. He's a really bad guy. He's still on our team, but we're going to secretly fall for him and then keep our relationship a secret. The Fine Print, also by Lauren Asher. I hate my boss. He's a complete jerk, but he's a hot jerk, but I still hate him, but now I love him. The Plated Prisoner series has a very clear enemies, villain to lovers storyline. This does not get touched on in book 1 though, so it's going to be extended out. The Broken Bonds series, or the Ties That Bind series, a reverse harem why choose, where they all hate each other and there's 5 men and 1 woman. All of them are enemies. And Zodiac Academy, while this is a bully romance and a forbidden romance, they hate each other. They are enemies. They are literally competing for the same freaking throne. They hate each other. And then some of them start to love, all of them actually start to love each other, but some of them romantically start to love each other. The one that I read the second most of was Forced Proximity. And who does not love a good forced proximity, especially when you're enemies, right? Like when you hate each other and you are forced to be around each other or stick around. Oh, the feelings, they catch. So Forced Proximity, I read 25 Forced Proximity books. The Bodyguard is Forced Proximity. Clearly, she's his bodyguard. He is a famous actor and she has to stick to him at all times to make sure he is safe at his family's Thanksgiving holiday. This also includes a one bed trope, but a lot of people didn't like the way this one was done. The Player Next Door. He's next door. She can see into his room from her room. They are forced to look at each other every day. Book Lovers. She goes on a vacation to his hometown. This is also kind of an enemies to lovers because she can't stand him and now she is forced to look at him every day on this vacation because the town is really tiny. Royally Not Ready by Megan Quinn. They are secluded in this little castle far away in the kingdom. He's literally in the room next door to hers because he's giving her princess lessons and nobody can know that she exists. But what is better than Forced Proximity? Well, I mean, I wouldn't call this better, but like, I still love this trope. Like, I love this trope. And this is strictly a fantasy trope. This is not a rom-com trope. So it's pretty impressive that I read 23 Fated Mates books out of like my entire year. Again, I tried not to repeat. I'm only giving you 3 Fated Mates because I feel like I always have to recommend these 3 Fated Mates. I've talked about a lot of Fated Mates books before, and so I'm going to try to give you 3, one that I always recommend, and 2 of them you may not have known they were Fated Mates. Zodiac Academy has a Fated Mates storyline. I'm not going to tell you which books this comes into play, but it is gold. It is gold. And also devastating. At least I was devastated. I know a lot of people are devastated. And here I am making this video on the day that Zodiac 8 came out, and I have not even downloaded it to my Kindle yet. I'm scared, you guys. The next one is Untainted by Lillian T. James. This is a Fated Mates book. And one of the things that I love about it is that you as the reader know that it's a Fated Mates book, but the mates do not know. So the entire time you're rooting for the Fated Mates, and it's so good. Another one is Dark Knight Golden Dawn. Now, for some reason, I am completely blanking on how or why this was Fated Mates. I know it's second chance romance, and I think there's like a little inkling of how there was a mating bond in there somewhere, but I'm completely blanking. So I am going to trust my past self that put the little X on my spreadsheet saying that this was Fated Mates and call it Fated Mates. But if it's not, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I'm literally trying to rack my brain and figure it out. No? Okay, it was like a prophecy Fated Mates thing. Okay, I got it. Yep, I remember now. Fated Mates, it is Fated Mates. And I know a lot of you people may not agree with this one, but I love slow burns. I would rather have a slow burn in a book than just a straight to it. Like, oh no, I want to feel ruined. I want to feel like I have been waiting for freaking ever, because then when they actually get together, they actually like profess the love, they figure out that they're mates. Like, it is just so much sweeter. Like, I am obsessed with slow burns. I would rather read a slow burn every single day of the freaking week, every single book that I read, than insta love or immediate right away. I know there are a lot of people who love like actually seeing the couples together, but I would argue that I don't care. It's not as exciting when they're actually together. At least in a book. Like real life, yeah, okay, I want them to be together. But like in a book, I love the build up. I love the slow burn. It's my favorite. Set on You is an example of a slow burn. They kind of start as enemies, but then become friends. And because of situations, don't want to actually have a relationship. So it fizzles for a while. Every Summer After is a slow burn because we literally get every single summer that leads up to them being together in a relationship. So it is very slow and you don't actually get any sort of spicy content, spiciness until close to the end. This would definitely be a slow burn. Savage Lands, I've talked about before, is a slow burn because this literally builds up for multiple books. The tension in these series is so high, but the burn is so slow. I know I talked about this one already, but this is also a slow burn, which is one of the reasons why I like it. So I had to include it in this section. The Bonds That Tie, starting with Broken Bonds. It is a slow burn reverse harem why choose. And I think that's literally the reason why I love it. It didn't rush in. Like, you're building the relationships. It's drawn out. There's tension. There's, dare I say, love forming. Like, it's there. And I love that about it. And lastly, I will call the Crescent City series, especially House of Sky and Breath, the slow burn series. And Sarah J. Maas kind of does that pretty much in all of her series. Like, they're a little slow burny. They're not jump in right away. Arguably not Silver Flames, but whatever. I don't call that one a series because that's part of the ACOTAR series. Crescent City is for sure a slow burn, and Hunt is worth the wait, okay? Next is the You're Mine trope. I included any book that as I was reading, I remember a character saying those words, "You're mine." It had to be in the book, not just like the energy around it. I will accept mine, and I'll explain that one in a minute. House of Lies and Sorrow by Emily Blackwood is one of the You're Mine books that I had on my list. Malachi is very possessive. He is literally your mine embodied. What's interesting about this one, though, is like you expect, because of that behavior, it to be spicy, but this is also a very slow burn. So it is not spicy for the first couple books. I don't even know if spicy's coming, but the next one's coming soon, so we'll find out. Of course, Zodiac Academy is a Your Mine book. I'm not going to say which one. I don't remember which book it actually occurred in, but I just need to say Darius Acrux. I don't know. I probably say it wrong. Darius, being the treasure-loving dragon hoarder that he is very possessive and into things being his. So yes, Your Mine is present in Zodiac Academy. Another one is My Killer Vacation. Miles is very possessive of his newfound little cutesy teacher that he is trying to protect from a murderer. And I'm pretty sure he utters the phrase, "You're mine," at least twice. So, is there a book that I read this year that meets all 5 of my criteria? Funnily enough, yes, there are 2. Glint and Gleam are books 2 and 3 of the Plated Prisoner series, and they have all 5 of them. I didn't super rank those books as like really high on my list, but they have all of the tropes that I love reading. And I did still really like the books. If we are talking about a book that meets all of my criteria for my like those 5 tropes, it is A Court of Mist and Fury. I was thinking about it as I was recording this video, and I was like, I didn't read this year. I read it last year. I reread it last year. This book has all 5 of my tropes. Slow burn, chapter 55. Like 55 chapters is a long time to wait, okay? Slow burn, fated mates, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. She has to go to the night court. She's forced to because she made a deal. And You're Mine. We all know that Reese is a You're Mine type of guy. So I think it's really funny that my top 5 tropes of this year, all encompassing of one of my favorite books. I just had to say it just because I was thinking about it. Now I'm going to talk about kind of some runners up. They didn't make the top 5, but they were still really heavily read in my list of books this year. Touch Her and Die. This is not one that you can say in certain apps, but this is a trope. Maybe I should say Touch Her and Unalive. I don't know. But Touch Her and Unalive. And an example of this is Ledge by Stacey McEwen. Super protective male main character, wants to make sure she's safe and protected. Pretty sure he utters that at least once. Next is a love triangle. And I read 13 love triangles this year. But one of my notable ones was Defend the Dawn by Bridget Kemmerer. And this is a love triangle, also forced proximity, on a boat with a new love interest that I did not like at all. Tessa, pull your head out of your ass. Lost Royalty. I read 10 of these. A lot of them were Zodiac Academy. Okay. Even though it's only really prevalent in one, but like it's a really heavy theme throughout the whole series. The big like Lost Royalty one that I think of right away is Royally Not Ready by Megan Quinn. Princess Diaries, Lost Princess, has to be told she's a princess, has to go to princess lessons to be a princess. Forbidden Love. I read 17 of these. And I love a good forbidden love because usually it's like a secret relationship also, or like your feelings are stronger because you're not supposed to be with that person and they're not supposed to be with you, or it's frowned upon or whatever. In this case, you just can't touch. You're literally forbidden from touching, or else everyone is going to die. And that is A Forbidden Fate by Kaven Herning. And He Falls First. I read 14 of these, and I love when you can tell that the man has fallen first. I love it. It just, it warms my heart. It makes me get the warm fuzzies. I love He Falls First tropes. I would rather have a He Falls First trope than ever figuring out the girl's feelings first. An example of a He Falls First is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is a hockey romance, and it is very obvious that he falls for her first, and there's maybe a little sprinkling of jealousy in there. Some of the other notable tropes that I read a decent amount of were things like Friends to Lovers, Bad Boy but Good for Her, Second Chance Romance, Fake Dating. And I'm actually surprised I didn't have more fake dating, because I love fake dating. Fake dating is also one of my favorite tropes, but maybe I just didn't find enough of them. Secret Relationship, love a secret relationship, and Grumpy Sunshine. I know that's not all 35 of the ones that I tracked, but we would be here all freaking day if I read you literally every single book from every single trope that I tracked. And I know there are a lot of tropes that I didn't track. And so I'm always looking for more suggestions. If there are tropes that you are interested in me posting videos about, things that you want to know, be sure to leave them in a comment for me below so that I can add them to my spreadsheet so I can track them starting from the very beginning of 2023. I had a lot of fun trying to figure out what kind of tropes I was reading and seeing kind of where the patterns lie. I know I read a lot of fantasy this year, so they were like kind of skewed a little bit towards books that were more, or tropes that were more prevalent in fantasy books. I'm not quite sure what next year's reading is going to look like, so it'll be interesting to kind of compare between years to see what I read more of and like how my preferences and trends change, but also just like what's available in the market, right? I hope you were able to get some book suggestions from this list. Again, if there are any tropes that you want to see, hear about, find more books about, leave me a comment below. Let me know what they are so I can try to find books with them. And if you know of any books that fit my top 5 all in one, please let me know so I can read it. I will put links for all of these books down in the description below. And don't forget, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Fun Size Reader. See you guys next time.